Hello, this is Julie Candler with the BBC News. The President of Mexico, Andrés Manuel López Obrador, has said a fire that killed 39 migrants at a facility close to the United States border on Monday night was started by the migrants themselves. He told journalists that about 70 people who were being detained at the migration center in Ciudad Juárez learned they were about to be deported. Mr. López Obrador explained how the tragedy unfolded.
Como protesta en la puerta del albergue.
They put mattresses in the door of the shelter and set them on fire as a protest and did not imagine that it would cause this terrible tragedy. What we know so far is that it was mainly migrants from Central America and some from Venezuela who were in the shelter.
The facility is next to the Stanton International Bridge that links the Mexican city to El Paso in Texas. Thousands of protesters are marching through central Paris and other French cities on a 10th day of strikes and rallies against the government's pension reforms. In the capital, striking rail workers walked along the tracks at one of the biggest stations. A record number of police have been deployed in the hope of preventing a repeat of the violence which erupted after demonstrations last Thursday. Natalia Puzirev is an MP for President Macron's Renaissance Party.
We want to deal with this situation by renewing the social dialogue. Of course, this pension reform is unpopular because nobody wants to see the retirement age increase. We have to come to an agreement. We have a few weeks before the Constitutional Council gives their head to the reform.
A court in Russia has sentenced a man whose schoolgirl daughter drew an anti-war picture to 2 years in jail. Alexei Moskalyov was found guilty of discrediting the army. His whereabouts are unknown. The man's 13-year-old daughter, Masha, has been removed from her home. Our Russia editor Steve Rosenberg has more details.
Today, a judge sentenced Alexei to 2 years in prison, but he wasn't in court to hear the verdict. A court spokesperson explains why. She claims that Alexei fled house arrest and has gone on the run. Alexei's lawyer, Vladimir Belyenko, tells me he's never seen anything like it. No client of mine, he says, has ever disappeared. As for Masha Moskalyova, the schoolgirl has now officially been taken into care.
The International Olympic Committee has recommended that athletes from Russia and Belarus be allowed to return to international competition, lifting a ban imposed in the wake of the invasion of Ukraine. The IOC president, Thomas Bach, said they should only be permitted to take part as individual, neutral competitors. World News from the BBC. Police in the US city of Nashville have released dramatic body cam footage from officers who responded to a mass shooting in a school on Monday. The video shows police running through corridors and classrooms in their search for the attacker as alarms and sirens wail. The video also captures the moment that the shooter, a 28-year-old former pupil, is shot dead. One of the world's biggest internet companies, the Chinese firm Alibaba, says it's splitting up into 6 separate businesses. The restructuring was announced just a day after the company's founder, Jack Ma, reappeared in China after falling out of favour with the Chinese government. Michael Bristow reports.
Jack Ma launched Alibaba as an online trading platform with a few friends from a small flat. It's now worth more than $200 billion, but it's experienced difficulties over recent years, not least because Mr. Ma fell out with the Chinese government. Despite his return to China, he'll not be running the company. He resigned as boss 4 years ago and has sold off much of his stock. Splitting up Alibaba into 6 parts gives the firm a clear path for the future. Mr. Ma's next move is less clear.
The Israeli parliament has passed a bill which will allow hospitals to ban leavened bread products during Passover. Hospitals will, if they wish, be able to enforce Jewish religious law which prohibits the owning or consumption of unleavened bread during the 8 days of Passover, which begins next week. The Peruvian government is seeking clarification from the Spanish authorities after scuffles outside a Madrid hotel which led to a Peruvian footballer being detained by police. Peru's foreign ministry said the goalkeeper for the national team, Pedro Galese, was released without charge. Police said they were trying to prevent a crush as hundreds of Peruvian fans turned out to greet the team. They're in Spain for a number of friendly matches. BBC News.